To manage my time, right? I think we have done a bit of the Rabbana Atina Fi Dunya Hasana, right? So let's now move to the Wafil Akhirati Hasana. And they will add Wakina Azabanna. So now, like I said, I know that the Imam, our chief Imam, has been doing a lot of work. If Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu could not force everybody in Medina to accept Islam, and that was why he had to leave the people. I mean, he can't do more than Allah has granted him. So today, this discussion, it's very important for us to take it home and kind of renew our intention seriously, right? Because like I said, nothing here is new. Everything is public knowledge. Anybody can read this. People that are sitting here are more professional than myself, right? But the thing is that how are we ready to combine, to live our life? Like I always say that Islam is a way of life. Really, is a way of life. So if I'm at work, is it the same thing as in I am on my salat, right? If I'm in the market, is it the same thing as in when I'm reciting my Quran? So how is Islam a way of life? So there are a lot of verses of the Quran that speaks to trade, some of them, but I'll just play on one of them, which says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna alladhina yatluna kitab Allah, wa aqamu as-salata, wa anfaqu mimma razaqnahum sirran wa alaniya. Now Allah made a promise. What do they want? Yarjuna tijaratan lan tabura. Yeah? It says, Yarjuna tijaratan lan tabura. I want to say that indeed those who recite the book of Allah, that's English, establish prayer, spend out of what we have provided for them secretly or publicly, should expect a trade that will never fail. So that he may give them in full their rewards and increase them from his bounty. Indeed, he is forgiving and most appreciative. Now, Allah has used commercial language that is familiar to all of us here as traders, right? So what capital are we investing in our business, right? And the capital is 1, the recitation of the Quran, and 2, the establishing regular salah, and spending in charity what Allah has given us, both privately and publicly. Yeah. So when we do this, what does it give us? It guarantees reward in full, increase extra profit from Allah, and then it gives us a divine pleasure and forgiveness from Allah. Now, the risk level. What risk level do you expect when you go through your Quran, establish prayer, and then you spend from what Allah has given you? There's no loss. You cannot read the Quran and lose. You cannot establish regular prayer and lose. You cannot give to charity and lose. But you see, for some of us, my profit is still small. I cannot give charity now. When I reach the threshold of chairman, I will start zakat. The Prophet has discouraged every Muslim of two things that the Prophet said, don't do it as Muslims. Laziness and begging. It's more than sometimes being kafir. Laziness and what? And begging. So we need to ask ourselves, in the Muslim Ummah, do we encourage laziness and begging? So, this is the only trade in existence with a guaranteed positive return. There was a day I went to Ibadan. There's a hotel that Alaji knows, Green Spring Hotel. Korikolo and Benson. Grass. I took one of my children to a particular hospital around that side, and I saw Green Spring. There used to be very big hotel where people have events like this. It's now Koriko. So, as I mentioned this, all of you can now imagine a lot of businesses you've seen in fact internationally, a lot of names that have disappeared. Right? Our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu has it disappeared? The people that follow this path, really, the Abu Bakr of this world, Abdurrahman bin Auf of this world, the farm that you have in Medina that produces dates, that they use the proceeds of the dates to construct hotel, and now the generations, like 15 generations, 20 generations after Usman has passed away, they are still sharing millions of dollars. It has not disappeared. Why? Because every morning they will read the Quran, they will observe prayers, they will give charity. It never perished. Today, our fathers will say, Jai's Bank, Alternative Bank, Lotus Bank, you cannot give me 20%. I'm going to Wema Bank. That is it. Honestly. The only trade that will not fail is with Allah. And so, let me say that there's a closing reflection here. Every trade carries risk. Every trade that you do. Like my own mentor, Fadilat Sheikh Muhammad Awal, said, only one thing will be enough for everybody, that is Allah. One cloth is not enough. One car is not enough. One house is not enough. In fact, duplication is not enough. Once it's gone, it's gone. What is enough? That is one, is Allah. So, the only trade you can do that there's no risk is with Allah. Every other trade that we do, there's risk. That we cannot even see. Sometimes we don't even see the risk. Like COVID, when COVID came, nobody saw it. So every morning, as Muslim traders, once the market opens, don't let it to be the market in the city. Let it be the market in your heart. Right? Let it be the market in your heart. Okay? So, what do? Daily work and business are reviewed as what? A field of testing. A field of testing. And it should be a place of being fresh. Your intention must be renewed every day. And you must see it as a continuous transaction with Allah. This is the only way. And I just remember, for all of us, every Jum'ah that they've said is the best of the day, of the week, Jum'ah, they will say, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu idha nudiya li salati min yawmil Jum'ah fas'au ila dhikrullah wa zarul bay'a. Can you imagine? Wa zarul al-bay'a. Just drop the trade. Do we drop trade? At the minimum, I don't want to go to La ilaha illallah. Wa zarul bay'a. Then Allah now emphasized that but I want to finish my calculation and I need to finish attending to my customer. And my ED is holding me, my MD is holding me. And one day they will say, Aziz, come and go. Or I will give them a circular, I want to go. One day. Now, if Father says, Faiza Kudiyati Salat, why is that Kudiyati Salat? Fantashiru fil ard. وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَذِكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Now if I say, وَإِذَا رَأَوْا تِجَارَةً انفَضُوا إِلَيْهَا وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا. Now the only place I've seen that are from our fathers that have created something to say, after Jum'ah, there is a dhikr you should come and do. Today, that dhikr we are fighting over it, a lot of argument. I'm talking about the Sufi. The dhikr is there. They established that dhikr for everybody to come and do dhikr. That's the idea. Dhikr is not, you say it is in your mind. Your mind and the one you are supposed to say out. Did you do anyone? It's not, you see that in your mind, even the one in your mind, are you sure you are doing it? The open one that we can see. Because you are not God, you are not doing it, but you are claiming it's the mind you want to do. So may Allah help every one of us. So always remember those three things. Once the market open and it's opened in your mind, in your heart, you will know that it's open for test, because it's either you make profit. So is either that day, that office that you are going might be your last day. That shop that you are going to might be the day that you encounter something you never expected. So see it as a test and change your intention to be contented with whatever Allah will give to you that day. And know that it's a continuous transaction with Almighty Allah. Well, the Muslim believers' aim is not to abandon worldly leisure. We are not discouraging people from making a lot of billions. It's essential. But we are saying that no leisure should be neglected. Combine the two. Rabbana atina fid dunya wa fil akhirati. The two should be hasana. Don't leave anyone alone. Now, I will give you another 3 daily business practices derived from the verse that I wrote. And this is one. That I work to earn halal provision. Right. That I work to avoid dependency on others. Like I said, discourage begging. And I also work to serve creation for the sake of the Creator. And that is why it's essential for those of us that have the capacity. Like Dangote keeps breaking new ground. Break new ground and make billions of naira for the Ummah. The money you are making is not for your wives and your children alone. Make money so that you can recruit people to your company. So that you can make people happy. You can pay heavy, like Tinubu is coming after big people. The bigger you are, the bigger tax you pay. That is the way Allah too wants it. It's sunnatic. Make plenty money. What are you going to eat now? You have too much money. What are you eating? Where do you want to sleep? Where do you want to travel to? So make plenty money so that you can help people plenty. Do you get? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has principles. Actions without intention are bodies without souls. Right? So, right. Okay. So again, you see, anytime you are reading the Quran, and you remember that what you are reading is Allah's word. It's not text. The Quran that I say you should read when you get to your office, don't take it as just must have. Kalamullah ya Sheikh. You are reading the word of Allah that you did not see. Can we reflect back to that? That what I'm holding and this Fatiha that I'm reading is Kalamullah from Allah, is Allah's word. That's the only thing that we have. So, once you remember that, honestly speaking, there are some ethics that Muslims must put in practice. When you are selling, don't say Wallahi. When you say Wallahi, I bought Wallahi Ashoyi Lati Dubai, Wallahi Murani $100,000. Prophet Muhammad said, Allah will remove barakah from both the principal and the profit immediately. When you say Wallahi, right? So to that, truthful advertising in your business is very, there's what we call advertising gimmicks. Muslims don't practice that one. Abdurrahman bin Auf, we all know what he does. He's a merchant of horses, royal horses. Abdurrahman bin Auf, right? If he says to you that this horse is 100,000 dirham, by the time you are checking the horse, even if you are not checking, you will not say, come and see you. The tail of this horse is not complete. The leg of this horse, something is wrong. The ear, he wants you to see the defect of the horse. If you not say, hey, but can I pay 80,000 dirhams? I'm not saying, yes, bring it. Because he has shown you the defect. If he further show you another one again, you say, but this does not meet the royal standard. Can I pay 50,000 there? He will say, bring it. And because of that, nobody buys horses from any other person apart from Abdurrahman bin Auf. Let's now compare horse with cars. We have car dealers here, right? All the histories of the accidented cars. And he's a Muslim, and he's selling the same car to a Muslim, and he's saying, Wallahi, this car is 2005 model. Model to give birth to what is so in conjunction with all their allies, and they are all Muslims, and their model shabusi Muslimi come. Once you upgrade, they say Allah. So how do you advertise with Quran? How? How do you put in place fair pricing? How do you keep your promises? And then how do you accept returns and complaints with humility? Ẹ tó bá fẹ́ rí wàhálà gidi kó lọ sí Ìbàdàn kó lọ dá ọjà padà. Èpè tẹ́ni ò gbọ́ rí láyé. After you have bought clothes, you now come back and say, I made a mistake. It's not this type of lie. In fact, the seller will feel as if you want to destroy my life. And then I'm sorry, we may have Igbos here. It's only Igbo that I know that once you make payments, that money cannot come back to you. And you have to add money. You have to add money for you to be able to take out that if you don't want to lose that your money completely. Don't copy Igbo. There's no baraka in that attitude. Islam is saying you must accept returns and complaints with humility. Because you know you have reshaped your intention in the money that you are going to trade with who? With Allah. So your character is your loudest dawah. Yeah. There are a lot to learn. I'm going to leave this right up to the group to share, but I will close my discussion or presentation by saying that the trader who fears Allah sleeps richer than the greedy king. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad kama sallaita ala sayyidina Ibrahim wa ala ali sayyidina Ibrahim wa barik ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad kama barakta ala sayyidina Ibrahim wa ala ali sayyidina Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidum Majid.
Alternative bank basically is not for Muslims alone. It's for the generality of human being, right? And it's actually to touch lives for the betterment and development of the country and individual as well. So alternative bank is, though the foundation is Sharia based, really, but it's meant for everyone, right? It's meant for everyone. So we are operating on asset-backed transactions, right? And then we are interacting directly with the rural sector, where the GDP is gotten from. So we are not a standalone financial intermediation banking system. So by that, I believe that if people come to the alternative bank, you know, they will experience peace of mind and then experience real creation of wealth. But that is what we stand for. Now, our mission is to create wealth, yeah, and we create it with empathy, excellence, and you know, we're always there for our customers.
Oh, sorry, 2026, I mean to say. Okay? So, two comments that I would like to put out there very quickly before I start the conversation. The first is to say that tax is quite technical, right? And I must say that so we know it is quite technical. So, what I've done, and what I will do in the course of presenting these slides is to break it down a bit so that you understand where we are coming from and where we are going to. Number two is also to say that when the Nigerian Tax Act was passed sometime last year, May or so, with effective date of June for some of the laws and January this year for the others, we all had a common understanding as to what those laws were. We also know that in the last couple of weeks, we've seen so much in the public space around what they call the official version, official gazetted version, the certified true copy version, so many versions out there. What I've done in order to create confusion was simply use the version that was in the public domain as of December last year, since June when the law was passed, so that we are conversant with what people were conversant with as at that time. So that's to say that even all the versions that are out there, if you look at it critically, there are just few differences between those versions. But like I said, I've leveraged the version that was in public domain between June and December last year. Okay? So, by way of content, next slide. What I've done is to compartmentalize this into about 7 major themes. Next slide. So I'll look at the levies and the levers, introduction to the tax act itself. As it were, there are 4 pieces of legislation that were passed together in June last year. Then, because we are all Nigerians, we are Muslims, we are individuals, I will also then start with discussing the content of those laws as respects all of us individually. So I'll look at personal income tax, and then taxation of settlement, estates, and trusts. From there, we'll move on to taxation of companies, income, profit, and gains. Very quickly, we'll take that, and then I'll spend a bit of time on taxation of not-for-profit organization like us as a body, Nasfat as a body. Then after, we'll talk about the popular value-added tax, the new changes, the new introduction of surcharge and stamp duties, and finally, we'll talk about the road ahead. What are the key risk factors? There's also a portion I've added around the believers. What is in it for us as believers, as Nasfat members, and the rest. Next slide. Next slide. So like I said, the tax laws were actually 4 in number. The first one was the bigger one, the biggest one, the Nigerian Tax Act. And the next one is the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Act. The third is Nigerian Tax Administration Act. And then the last but not the least is the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act. Now, all these laws, right, were put together to, in a sense, have some piece of legislation that we can hold on to as a tax law. The first one, the Nigerian Tax Act, is a law that actually embodies how we tax companies in Nigeria and individuals. The second one actually sets up a new body, as it were, that will essentially oversee all federally collectible revenue in Nigeria. Today, the truth, let me say, before the law was passed, the truth was that there were so many agencies scattered across the country that are responsible for collecting revenues on behalf of the government, and there was no mechanism to monitor and supervise these bodies. So what the second act has done is to bring all of this under the purview of one taxing authority, Nigerian Revenue Service, which has replaced FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service. The third one, Nigerian Tax Administration Act, as the name implies, it has to do with how do we administer all the various taxes that we have in the country under one legislative umbrella. I will talk a bit about more later on. And last but not the least is the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act. That act seems to, in a sense, articulate how the various subnational taxing authorities can work amongst themselves collaboratively, and also provide a mechanism for resolving any disputes amongst them. Again, that may sound technical, but in layman's language, it means how can the federal tax authorities, Nigerian Revenue Service, work with state internal revenue service, state revenue service, or local government authority revenue collection agency? How will all these 3 work together seamlessly to ensure that Nigeria as a country has the best tax ecosystem in the country? Next slide. Next slide. So, what were the key objectives in formulating the Nigerian Tax Reforms Act? 5 key objectives were teased out, and I'll start very quickly. Number 1 is that it has come to simplify the tax laws. Very good example. Before the law was passed in June last year, as a company, I'm sure most of us are owners of companies or directors of companies, you could pay up to 10 or 15 types of taxes into different accounts every year. What this law has done is to coalesce and combine most of them into one. For instance, development levy, to replace taxes like police levy, NISDA levy, outstanding levy, education tax, many of them. So the law has come to simplify them and saying just pay the government levy to make life easy for the taxpayer, even for the tax administrator. And then tax administrator can then back end share that amount amongst all the various revenue generating entities that the government ought to give the money to. Second objective was to create efficiency of tax compliance and tax administration. Very good example. Before June, as a new company in Nigeria, you could actually pay tax twice or 3 times on the same income as a new company. They call it commencement rule. This law has come to abolish that rule, such that you don't pay tax twice on the same income. It's unfair. That's only one of the objectives of this law, which it seeks to achieve and is going to achieve. Third one was to align with global best practices. We always say that Nigerians are lagging behind when it comes to global best practices. It's the same thing in taxation. Our laws as of June last year, most of them were made 30, 40, 50 years ago. That's no connection to reality, particularly with respect to foreign companies operating in Nigeria. So what this law has done is to align the provisions along with what happens in other jurisdictions, particularly with respect to curbing tax evasion by multinational enterprises. And a very good provision, a very good example of the provision that they made is provision around minimum tax, i.e., MNEs, multinational enterprises, must be responsible taxpayers such that in any country they operate, which has been in existence long ago, but now being introduced by this law, they pay a minimum tax to the government in Nigeria because they make money from Nigeria. That is one of the objectives for that law, to align with global best practices with respect to foreign companies who operate in the country. The fourth one is alignment with economic objectives and generate sustainable revenue streams for national development. Nigeria today has one of the least tax to GDP ratio across the globe. Before June, it was around 6 to 7%, sometimes it's 8%. But the objective of this law is to ramp that up to 18% by next year. Tax to GDP ratio was also a measure of economic development. The other bit of it also is to say that VAT, for instance, at 7.5% is the lowest even amongst African countries. Is the lowest. Again, there are provisions that seek to give the government the ability to increase that over a period of time while reducing the tax that you and I will pay by way of direct taxation. That's one of the lofty objectives of this law as well. Last but not the least is to institutionalize the tax harmonization reform. Again, how do you achieve harmonizing tax reforms? By having in place legislations that can ensure that irrespective of the government that comes to power, tax ecosystem is sanctified, is immune to any frivolous changes. And again, these laws seek to achieve that. So, in a nutshell, those are the lofty objectives of these laws as we passed before June last year. Like I said, there were versions much later, up to last week, but again, we won't bother ourselves about that. As a matter of fact, as I was planning to come to this event, my colleague Wala Jai was heading to channels to go and defend a paper that we put out there yesterday around some of the issues we noted around this law. So it's a bit controversial, but again, we will stand on the path of truth. Next slide. Now, these changes, the tax laws we're talking about, I would say represent the singular, most profound changes to the Nigerian tax ecosystem since independence. Why did I say so? This law has come to repeal at least 11 current tax laws. Has come to cancel them when I have only one in place of 11 tax laws. They have also made amendments to over 20 some existing laws. I think you can give it that it's actually very profound. It's the first time in the history of the country's independence that would have a wholesale change or amendment to the tax ecosystem by this law. So these are the laws that have been repealed by this new law, Capital Gains Tax Act, Casino Act, and the list is endless up to the last point.